Greetings and welcome. I am Joffrey, and today I'm only joined by Vector Maximus for now at least. Got a limited time to crunch in this diplomacy Tinto talk before I've got to shamble off to work and have not heard back from the other member of the trio. So, should be just the two of us, theoretically.
We'll have to make do with a duo.
So sad. Though, as read on a little bit, uh, Vector and I have been talking about how, uh, very amusingly, the first introduction here, Johann explains that a lot of things will be quite similar to those who have played other Paradox games. I imagine that. As with many things in EU5, it's going to be quite similar to different games they've made, combined, taking various elements that they've learned from this or that. Though he specifically mentions EU4 and Imperator, which, again, the most key things, it feels a lot of the time like this game is going to be uh, EU4 is the baseline. No, if anything, it feels like Imperator is the baseline with EU4, and then with a CK3, EU4, and VIX influencing it a little bit. But on the EU4 timescale, no, it's going to be a strange game, that's for sure. Um, mm, March of the Eagles. Sorry, I forgot. I forgot. March of the Eagles too. I'm sorry. Please forgive. Uh, I've actually been trying to get Streamlabs OBS to work, but with streaming, but I can't seem to figure it out. But whenever I eventually get that streaming platform to work, then I'm gonna hopefully have it set so that stream chat will actually pop up on the stream, so that people who watch VODs, because I know there's a lot of folks that just watch, rewatch all the Joffman VODs. They will be able to understand what the heck was being talked about more easily without me literally reading every single thing that the person I'm responding to said. All right. So, actually getting properly started. Gotta get through this before I leave. When it comes to diplomacy, we've based our interface solutions for diplomatic actions from two paths. First, when you have a country selected, you can get the classic way of seeing diplomatic actions related to that country, but we also have sometimes more useful ways of selecting diplomatic actions and then seeing which countries would accept it. Oh yes, you've got the macro builder, I believe it's called, that they introduced with Mandate of Heaven in EU4. Fantastic feature that I'm very relieved to see them saying they'll include. Uh, Not that I even consider, it's so ingrained in the game. I hadn't even considered the possibility of not having one anymore.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, they don't use the same diplomats. That's right, because you've got diplomatic capacity. Oh wait, diplomats, you gain +3 to. Okay, what? Well, this game may not have the immortal envoys of EU4 that limited how much diplomacy you could do at a time. In Project Caesar, you have a diplomatic corps, or diplomats as we refer to them as, and this represents how much diplomacy a country can do in a given time. Some advances, laws, or societal values will increase this amount, and there are also some buildings that will have an impact. Every diplomatic action you do requires at least one diplomat, and while they are a renewable resource, you may need to ration them. I see. So it's not. Okay, so it's a producible and accruable resource that you expend. Huh. As opposed to you just having this is the number of diplomats you have, and you send them on these assignments, like improving relations ad infinitum. I imagine in this case they'll probably explain it later. I see opinions is coming up, but perhaps there is a situation where like they're giving all the modifiers for what causes you to get more and then what your capacity is. I imagine that perhaps your uh, if you are okay, you got annexing countries, spy networks, opinion improvements. These three things are probably the most common actions that will cause you to have negative per month. It's an ongoing activity. So, hmm. A more nuanced take, I suppose, on what happens in EU4 when you just have someone eternally annexing some large vassal. You sent your diplomats to Paris, and now the French king is confused why his son looks nothing like him. Hmm. Now this sounds like a CK3 thing. To be honest, this is outside the Habsburgs in EU4. You ain't getting as much of that memery going on. Or no, the Habsburgs are in charge. So I meant the opposite. The Habsburgs are in charge of everything. The problem is that everyone looks like each other in EU4's timeline. That's what I meant. Oh, but yet EU5 doesn't have the Habsburgs yet, do they? No, yeah, they. What am I saying? Of course
Habsburgs
it
are
does.
around. They're ruling Austria already, or
Yeah,
divided Austria. Technically, it should be divided into like three duchies or something like that, but they're all in union and ruled by Habsburgs and shit. So
I was getting confused with how close CK3 and EU5's timelines are getting. They're getting narrower. The start of the EU games and the end of the CK games very much overlapping at this point. Uh, and it's that in no CK3 starts we have any Habsburgs, but yeah, of course they're in charge of a quite substantial Austria in EU5 still. Anyway, we should become an empire instead for more maximum diplomat storage, I guess. Yeah, probably be useful. It is more CK3. Yes, having the envoy, yes, do some goonery like that. In almost all grand strategy games we've made, we've tracked relations between countries, often in the completely natural and intuitive range of -200 often in the completely natural and intuitive range of -200 to +200. I assume that's a dig on himself. Early on, the relations was a single value, but in EU4 over a decade ago, we introduced the concept of a country, concept that a country could view country B one way and country could view country A another way. And this is no different in that regard. These opinions are calculated depending on the various states between the countries, like religion, culture, diplomacy, just diplomacy, and much more. It can have temporary impacts from actions. Opinions is how a country likes or dislikes. Another one, the difference between trust and opinions is that high opinion will stop a country from being hostile, but we would need trust to be able to work together. So I'm curious how trust that is going to differ because they've mentioned that they're keeping trust, and here we go again. They're specifying it. Need trust to work together. Maybe it's going to be it's probably going to be quite similar, but there's definitely going to be some adjustments to it. They always tweak stuff a little bit, seemingly. Yes, improve relations and send gifts. Gifts. And yes, improve relations use some monthly diplomatic action generation to over time improve relations, and sending gifts just instantaneous for money. So the opinion, different culture, different court language. Aha! There's something again. God damn it. These people, man, they can't keep doing this to us. What?
are they just say?
Vector, why? They keep they keep teasing that languages are a thing, and then they just don't address it. They're just not going to say anything about it. They're not going to say anything about it here. God damn it. Well, Neapolitan view of Catholic countries. So, based on how that country views countries, so maybe a country's tolerance, how tolerant a certain country is, makes them have a less negative, or maybe more positive is the better term, opinion of countries that are different religions. Now that it's based on the fact that it's specifying Neapolitan view of Catholic countries specifically, saying it like that. It's not saying like same religion plus bonus like it does in EU4. So perhaps, if they're a Protestant country, they might have a neutral or only slightly positive opinion, or maybe it's a negative too. It might be a negative,
May
and
be
then
affected by your national values. So
yes,
zealotry versus tolerance. So zealous countries will view similar faith or similar religion group countries better, and they'll view heathen ones worse. Whereas more tolerant, it becomes less of a issue or less of a factor in general.
though honestly, if you're zealous, you might actually you might yeah, you probably would, in fact, dislike same religion group religions bad worse as well. they, if you're going zealous Pope hours, I doubt they would be particularly fond of the Protestants. Afternoon rain. Yes, we are uh, breaking down in too much detail because that's how it works. The fact that on this particular window here, you've got it's saying different court language and the way this country views Catholic countries. Maybe my homies, all my homies love Rothenberg in EU4. They're the real goats, where they just have an ability that says no negative opinion from no negative opinion from wrong religion or culture. It just doesn't affect them. Trust represents how likely one country is to find how likely one country finds it that another country will act honorably towards them. Whether friend or foe, trust is a crucial component in forging lasting agreements. Trust is hard to get and easy to lose. Yes, that is what I always hear in real life as well. So sad. You can always send a diplomat to profess trust. Whoa. Yes, everyone loves you when you just send one of your friends over to visit someone and just have them repeatedly say, "You can trust us." Just crossing fingers.
Maximum.
We are we are very wholesome and will not backstab you. Trust. Just literally trust. Um. Oh, so that increases trust, but your diplomatic reputation will be lowered for 5 years. So trying to diplomatically increase trust lowers your reputation? I guess I guess the idea is that you're being more submissive diplomatically to them? Hmm. I don't know what the logic is in that. Why you lose reputation. I guess the idea is just that because you are people across the diplomatic landscape will recognize, oh, that country, they're the ones who are having their diplomats running around trying to insist that they're very good friends, they're very trustworthy friends, and then it's like, well, anyone who needs to. It's the Tywin Lannister line of anyone who says they must be that they are the king is no true king. Anyone who needs to insist that they're trustworthy isn't worth listening to. And Evie again with more Cornish propaganda. The Cornish Empire is wholesome and will definitely not send you to Siberia after conquering and burning your land. You mean to say you insist you will not you yes, cross fingers, trust everyone when if you diplomatically vassalize to us, once we integrate your lands, we will definitely not have our ministers expel you from your homeland and attract a migration so that you will all move to Iceland or Greenland, even better.
Blatant false advertising in effect.
You you have to wonder how on earth. I get Iceland and Greenland really sounds like a situation where some lads rocked up on Iceland and they called it Iceland and they realized not many people showed up. So when they found the next place even further away, they decided, okay, we need to get the tourism up. So how about we call it Greenland? Because you know,
Well, Greenland is even funnier. So there was this dude who lived in Iceland. I can't remember his name. He was constantly getting into quarrels with his neighbors, and he didn't like how the population of Iceland kept increasing. So he decided to fuck off to try to find his own a new place to live. He finds Greenland. He settles there, but then he discovers that there's actually a reason that people form societies and shit. And so he's like, I need people to make this work actually. So I'm going to go back to Iceland and I'm going to Shanghai as many poor people as I can into joining me in this wretched hellhole. And so goes back to Iceland and starts talking about this great new green land he's discovered. And so
ah,
he manages to put together a colonizing force. And then they go back, and he's by the time they get there, it's like, well, can't really go back now, can ya? You're stuck here with me. Tough shit. And
well,
that's how we got Greenland.
truly the most wondrous of individuals. I am sure that all 1,000 citizens, there's like 900 people, I think, in Greenland tag, the Greenland tag at GameStart in EU5. So yeah, I'm sure all of those people are so happy to be there. You want a history game where you can decide not to name the islands wrong and then name them accordingly. So what you're saying, Rain, is that you need a game that takes place before Iceland was colonized, and so that when it's colonized, you can choose a name for it, and that or before Greenland, actually, that's pretty feasible, all things considered. Before Greenland, and then you get to choose the name. You get this national event that pops up. It's like we've discovered this new place. Our explorer claims that it is a new green land that we should settle, and then trust him, trust, and then you get to click the option. No, call it Snowland to put right next to Iceland. Yes, but moving along, favors. Yes, yes. Trick them or don't, because if you choose to name it Greenland, you get a bonus to migration attraction. But if you don't, then you get a penalty. Favors represent how much one country has promised or otherwise owes to another country. Favors can be spent to ask the other country to do something. If favors get too unbalanced, refusing to do these things can cause a lot of trust or even cost a lot of trust or even diplomatic reputation. You gain favors by helping your allies and supporting them at need. And you can also use some of your diplomats on currying favors. This will reduce the monthly diplomats you gain each month, but at the same time, granting your country favors on the target country. And they get favors on you. Oh. So currying favors with someone is a mutual increase of favors. Ah. Very interesting. So the notable thing about this to me is that favors getting unbalanced, refusing to do things, causing trust or diplomatic reputation penalties. This sounds like a situation then where in EU4, you literally never have to accept any of the favor requests. people can ask for you to give them money, soldiers, any sort of thing that they can ask you for trust, but or favors rather, but you don't have to accept it. There's literally no penalty to refusing except opinion, and it's not even a bad opinion penalty. And if there's someone you've got a lot of favors with already, then losing an opinion with them over for just like a couple of years probably ain't that big a deal. But here, if it gets unbalanced and you are refusing it, then it's going to actually impact the trust and nation, which suddenly becomes a lot bigger of a deal because diplomatic reputation isn't it's not the most important thing. Oh, see the stream's having a bit of a problem right now. Ooh, geez, stream went really low down there for a second. Huh. All right, but we don't know all of what diplomatic reputation does, I don't think, in EU5 yet. I kind of doubt they'll explain that today, though. But trust is going to be really bad to lose, I imagine. You gain favors by helping your allies and supporting them in need. Accruing favors. Yes, the numbers feels 100% perfectly balanced. Hmm. I guess they're just saying that because, yeah, this is not finalized. It's just base value. Base value 0.5. So no, there's nothing modifying it. Yeah, I imagine this is not finalized. Oh, yeah. It keeps. I see the Wi-Fi keeps dipping right now for some reason. I do apologize for that. It's horrendous right now. Oh, is it? It's still actually. Because right now it says it's fine. Well, I do apologize for this. Let me look. Because right now. Oh, I see. Well, let me try something then. I had my laptop downloading something, so if I turn that off, that may well help. Uh, and by may well, I mean it probably will, because that was taking a lot less bandwidth up. All right, so continuing along. Yes, recurring favors, it's just the base value. And we get again this mention of cultural influence versus each other. Which why is everyone's talking about colonizing stuff? What have I done? Colonizing stuff and naming. What have I done? um, I really want to know this cultural influence stuff, but we just need a diary talking about cultural details sometime. I'm sure that whenever they do that, they'll also explain what language does, so that will be handy. Oh, no, it's not improved. It's still dropping down. Hmm. What the heck could be causing the Wi-Fi to just drop in spikes like that every once in a while? Well, hopefully, at any rate, the VOD looks better. I can cope with that. Alright. Spy networks. This describes the extent to which a country has infiltrated another with a network of informants, double agents, and general turncoats, and thus how much inside knowledge they have of that country. It can be used to perform a variety of insidious diplomatic actions. You need to use a diplomat to start building a spy network, and while it is then active, you will gain less diplomats each month. They're constructed. Oh, it's a percentage. Oh no, no wait. This is how much you're increasing the spy network now. I was thinking for a second there that this was the whole amount of diplomats you're gaining going down by a percentage. But no, that's probably going to be a flat value, so that you get in a situation where doing too many things at once will just cause you to actually be losing them, and that's probably an important factor of it. Um, the speed with which your spy network is built up depends on your spy network construction capacity, and the target country's counter espionage reduces it. The size of your spy network in a country impacts your siege ability and how much aggressive expansion you get from treating them badly. Yeah, okay. That aspect of spying isn't especially different. The one of the main things that's different about spy network stuff is that we know that you actually need to have you need to spy on people for basically every kind of CB. Oh, thank you, Rain, for sticking around. How wholesome. I'm not. It's not going to be much longer. Gotta. Yeah. Okay. Actually, there is a lot more to say, but I gotta speed through the rest of this. Okay. Um. Diplomatic reputation. Okay. We are actually learning about this. It's how highly regarded you are, and there are advances that increase it, but it also is increased by your country's prestige and decreased by your aggressive expansion. So your stance being belligerent makes people not consider you as reputable. Nobles of primary or accepted culture ratio. Hmm. Presumably that means how much of your nobility is your own culture slash accepted ones. That would make sense. Which the more nobles the more the nobility is accepted in your realm and isn't being persecuted, the more reputable you are, because you aren't going to have nobles in your own country speaking ill of you.
Yeah, no one cares if you mistreat the peasants. They only care if you mistreat the people that matter.
Oh gosh, Dark did sneak in at the end here. Hello.
Yep. Very last minute.
Got 10 minutes to wrap this up. Uh, Diplomatic range. It's whoa. I was just like, oh yeah, diplomatic range, whatever. Yeah. What, huh? Diplomatic range is going to be a thing. Nice. This is a concept we introduced in Imperator, where you can't just do diplomacy with every country on the map. And actually, Dark, now that you're here, this was something that I know we had discussed when they had mentioned, oh, China can colonize France if they could see it, because that implied that they would be able to reach them. But here, not only is their colonial range way too far away, they also have no diplomatic range over them either. Aragon, for example, yeah, they can get to Novgorod at the furthest, which is fair. They can get to Mali too, which is interesting. Oh, the Dark Gray is where Aragon is. Where Aragon cannot send
Can't
diplomats.
reach.
Yeah.
They can reach Georgia, but not the Golden Horde.
That is interesting, and I wonder if it's to do with the capital, like where the capital of the realm is, you know? Because otherwise, it would be way easier to get to like Crimea than it is to get to Georgia, all things considered. You gotta colonize the islands in the Indian and African Oceans first. Yeah, you got China needs to colonize island hopping its way to Portugal before they can colonize Portugal. Obviously. I want to see someone do that so badly, by the way. I really want to see that happen. Rivals. Yeah, simple, I'm sure. First of all, the selection of rivals is less opaque and follows a few simple rules. Okay. A valid rival is someone within a geographical area that is of a similar or higher rank, or shares a culture group. So are you not assigning them yourself? The geographical area for an empire is the same continent or adjacent subcontinent, while for a country is in the same area or a county is in the same area or adjacent province definition. Of course, you can always rival someone that just has declared you as a rival. Okay, so you do in fact pick them. No, okay, yeah, you don't. You do pick them, and it specifically gives you areas where you can pick them, and they need to be a certain strength. That makes sense. I like that quite a bit actually. Um, your spy networks are a lot weaker, and if you don't have enough rivals, your actions have more aggressive expansion and will give you and your spy networks, yes, far worse. Which is a nice change from in EU4, it just being, your score is worse. Whatever. You don't get as much power projection as score. I like them forcing you to pick rivals in games. Or rather, forcing you to make a difficult choice.
So what you're saying is you support victory cards.
No. No. No.
Right, guys? Victory cards in the mega campaign.
No.
Can't wait for you and Vector to get 1,000,000 victory cards on each other.
We are not having victory cards in the mega campaign. So help me God.
The difficult choices have been made for you.
It is not a difficult choice. uh, can you even colonize pre-established kingdoms? You know that happened IRL. You didn't see that one, Rain? Yeah, in EU5 you're able to colonize own land. Uh, that you just need to have a certain amount more power projection than them, and power projection is increased by government rank and tech, among other things. So due to the fact that China is an empire, they have better tech slash institutions than France, among other things that increase their power projection. They could, if France was right next to them, colonize them at the beginning. And in fact, China probably is capable of attempting to colonize places like Vietnam that's next to them. However, there are large disadvantages to attempting to do so. Uh, because you would need to you would need to send over enough people of your culture to make the majority culture in that county your culture before it flops to you, which is super unlikely, especially in, you're not gonna, as China, send over enough Han people to um if to you're not gonna send over enough Han people to North Vietnam to actually make it flip.
Not trying hard enough.
Maybe you can try hard enough. Maybe it's possible. I don't know. You can always create a cost of spelling on your rivals if you have spy network on there. So yeah, because you can always do the just humiliate rival, and you are capable of taking land with humiliate rival, for example. Now, there's no restrictions on that. It's just more expensive. There's no cooldowns on replacing rivals, but it costs you stability. That's good. A rival is a country that is perceived as having conflicting interest and will block you from having alliances. Yeah. And people that share rivals like each other more. Makes sense. Diplomatic capacity. Good, good. Majorca as a vassal. Oh no! That costs 1.7 diplo capacity. Wow, that's actually a lot of its diplo capacity just having Majorca as a vassal. Ooh. And their outward focus is only giving them 4% more. Base of 1, kingdom is 2. Huh. It's not. It only has one vassal at start, but it's not that small. Is it? Yeah, I guess. I guess Majorca's not that small. They have all those islands, and then some land up in the border of France. So it's not super small. I could see that costing more. That makes sense. Diplomatic actions and treaties. Today we'll not talk more about unions or subjects. Ah, it'll be its own one. Yeah, of course, the subjects diary. We will, however, discuss as many as possible other types of diplomatic treaties and actions, and this is what I need to blitz through. All right, friendly actions. Friendly actions. Yeah, that's stuff like making people like you more. Defensive leagues. You may recognize this from Imperator. So defensive alliances are going to exist. That's pretty neat. Guarantees. Yeah. Simply just, oh, you can ask. You're actually able to, okay. So you're capable of forming leagues of defensive leagues of countries, and you can ask more powerful people to guarantee your independence. So I don't know. There's going to be people in like the HRE who can get a lot of defense gathered up based on defending each other and asking a more powerful person to protect them. Propose ruler. If you have adults of your dynasty that are not your current ruler, you can propose that they become the ruler of another monarchy if they are in a regency without any valid heir. Ooh, so there you go with trust. You increase the trust between your countries, and over time you might be able to convince them to just, because they don't have a stable ruler, just plop. But being in a regency without any valid heir, that sounds crazy. How likely that is to happen must be super uncommon. Anti-piracy agreements, share maps. You give the maps of an area to a country if they haven't discovered it. Favors in Portugal. Port in Aragon. Any port in Aragon has privateers from Portugal. So you make you spend favors with Portugal to make a deal with them to stop them from privateering you. Dear God. Ah. I mean, that does make sense. There we go to hostile actions. Oh God. All right. Hostile actions, intervening in war, isolate from allies, send insults, threaten war. Okay. Yep, threaten war is normal. Isolate from allies, force them to break an alliance. Yeah. Those are use. Corrupt officials. So just mess with their cabinet. That sounds neat. Infiltrate the administration. That's always a fun one because you just get to see their fog of war. Stealing maps. Supporting rebels. Economy. Block building in a country. Block them from building stuff in your locations, which can be useful when you don't want English trade offices in all your cities. Then it does make sense, yeah. This is what you got to do to the Dutch. Stop the Dutch from building stuff, and then they'll be helpless. Embargo nation. Yes, reduce the market attraction of their markets, on your locations. That's good, yeah. I think that's going to be very appealing. Request a loan, usually sent to banking countries, but you could theoretically send it to another one, I suppose. Access. There's 3 types of access. Okay, military access, food access, and fleet basing rights. So food access is the new one where you can have your army supply in their territory. Okay, so you need to actually ask permission to do that. That's a very big deal. I'm I'm going to be very hesitant to be giving that out. All of them have the option to offer it to another country and request it. Well, military access. Military access can be requested to be paid for. Okay. There are many country-specific diplomatic actions, but they'll be talked about after Christmas when we start with the flavor talk, and the subject actions will be talked about in the Tinto talks about subjects. And stay tuned because next week will be something completely different. Oh goodness.
Boy, always love hearing that.
Yeah. This happens a lot where it's like, oh, surprise, something changed the subject, and they're not going to tell us what. But I don't have time to just be like, oh gosh, I wonder what it could be, because I need to get the hell out of here. So see you guys later. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you next time, but I need to skedaddle. Bye-bye.